I'm Jack Dunstan, and we're from Cable 8, and we had the pleasure of meeting you and finding your seats that you put up in the theater itself.
Yes.
And it's a great pleasure to talk with you because being an Academy Award winner and having 2 Academy Awards under your belt, it's really a great pleasure. And if we can go to this interview, you can go to the dinner and have a meal with your family too.
I put that under my belt.
There was something, I read a biography on you, and it was a nice introduction to the theaters here in Villa Montalvo and in Saratoga. And it said that you began your theatrical career right here under the guidance of your mother, plus another woman who had a great influence.
It was really under the guidance of Dorothea Johnston.
That's the one.
Who loved theater and who had traveled abroad and studied in England and came back to Saratoga and started a kind of community players group, and I don't know which was the first performance that she presented, but I do remember an early one was Alice in Wonderland.
Yes, and you had a special part.
I played Alice in that.
Of course.
That was a special part. And then she did Midsummer Night's Dream in the Glade, the Theater of the Glade.
Now my curiosity is, where is that Glade?
Oh, it was wonderful. Groves of redwood trees down by the village creek. And it was behind the Saratoga Inn, which her mother owns, you see.
And it was lined with eucalyptus trees, supposedly.
Redwood trees.
That's what I thought,
yes.
But for some reason this person said eucalyptus, and I don't recall eucalyptus growing here.
There may have been some eucalyptus trees back there, but what you noticed was the redwoods.
Now, in the book there was also a picture of some young lady in looked like long underwear of some sort, playing the part of Puck.
That was me.
That
was I should say. Yes, it was I. And I made that costume.
Did you really?
And it was
marvelous.
Long underwear.
It was, you're
And
kidding.
we dyed it yellow, and I carefully sewed, as with a barber pole.
Yes, I noticed
these
the spirals.
bands of red fabric, and I had a wig of wool, yellow and red wool, standing out like this. And the idea was Frederick Stover's idea. He came across this notion in looking up various productions of Midsummer Night's Dream, and this was a German idea.
Yes.
And he thought it very engaging and arresting and original, and so we adopted this costume for Puck in Dorothea Johnston's performance.
Now, Dorothy thought of something clever to do because there was a production of The Dream or something to that effect happening in Oakland. And there was a man by the name of Max Reinhardt that came into your life.
Well, Max Reinhardt was the greatest theatrical figure of that day.
Right.
He, had his own theater and several theaters in Germany and in Austria as well.
And he was making...
He was invited by the California Festival Association to present A Midsummer Night's Dream in the Hollywood Bowl, the San Francisco Opera House, and the Faculty Glade, and the Greek Theater on the grounds of the University of California at Berkeley. Well, I had won a scholarship when I graduated from high school to Mills College, and I was going to enter there in the fall and major in drama and speech arts. So when I read that Max Reinhardt was going to present Midsummer Night's Dream in these wondrous places, I thought it would be a splendid thing if I could watch his rehearsals. And through friends, I met his casting director, and he asked permission to just watch the rehearsals. Well, he said, I'd like to hear you read some lines, and so I did. And then he said, I would like to see you tomorrow morning. All this took place at the University of California. I'd like to see you tomorrow morning in San Francisco, and this time I want you to read the part of Hermia, one of the 4 lovers.
Right.
So I read the part of Hermia, and he said, well, if you come down to Hollywood in 4 weeks, you may be the understudy for the role of Hermia. Well, you can imagine how exciting that was.
And you were the age of 17?
18. I was 17 when I read for him, and then my birthday came along, and I became 18.
And how did your mother feel about this? Do you recall?
Fine.
She was
thought that
delighted
was
with the
all
whole
right.
thing?
Well, she...
Or after all, her daughter was going to go to
but
Hollywood.
she was rather... She wasn't tremendously... She was English, you know, and you don't always show what you really feel, especially with your children. And so I don't remember that she was overjoyed or excited or anything like that. The question was, would it be appropriate for me to go off to that den of iniquity?
That's what I mean.
Alone
Absolutely.
and unchaperoned.
You went alone?
Two wonderful friends drove me there and carefully installed me. It was Mr. Dennison and Mr. Ingerson, who were very greatly loved. That freeze up there, they did. Yes, they did. They lived at a wonderful house at Alma called Cathedral Oaks. It's still there. Anyway, they drove me all those 400 or 500 miles south to Los Angeles, and they installed me in a delightful little hotel which was owned and run by a lady lawyer. I think her name was Ruth Kinney. And they explained to her about me, and she said, oh, well, we will see to it that Olivia has the room next to mine, and she and I will share a bath. That way she could keep tabs on me, don't you see? And so that's exactly what happened. I was chaperoned by a lady lawyer who owned the hotel.
Now, this man was noted for his productions where he even planted live trees amongst the theater.
That's what he
and
did.
It became the most lavish productions
It was an
ever seen, right?
extraordinary production in the Hollywood Bowl.
Right.
He built a huge hill on the stage. The hill was covered with real grass, brought in, you know, turf.
Right.
I'd never seen that done before. I don't think anybody had ever seen that done before in all of America. But he did it. And then sunken into the hill were these pits where they were able to place the roots of these huge trees, oak trees I think they were, that were brought in, 5 of them, huge, just for this production.
It's supposed to have been a wonderland of
It
trees
was.
and lights.
Yes, it was. Magical, magical.
And then after your opening, well, how was it?
Well,
wait a minute, excuse me.
then, of
how did you happen to
Yes.
get the
Well,
actual opening night performance?
The actress who was cast as Hermia
Yes.
couldn't come to the rehearsals because she was in a movie. And the movie took a lot longer than they expected it to take. And in the end, 5 days before the opening night, Herr Professor Doctor, that's the way we addressed him, Herr Professor
you
Dr. Reinhardt, oh yes, came up and he said, you will play the part.
Now, she also had an understudy who was also called away for a film, too, which left Olivia.
That's right. Well, I had been under...
Now, that's the way they do it in the movies all the time.
Yes, that's the way they do it in the movies.
The understudy
It really
becomes
happened.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
And at the same time, there was a movie being cast, right? And,
No.
well, according to my story, there was a movie being cast called The Dream or something. And
Well, what
he was
happened?
casting for it, and you just happened to...
No, that wasn't it at all.
Oh,
No,
what was
not
it?
at all. Well, after we played the Hollywood Bowl, the San Francisco Opera House, and the Faculty Greek Theater of the University of California, Warner Brothers approached Reinhardt suggesting that he make a movie of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Okay.
And he retained for that movie 2 of the players of the original stage production. And one of them was Mickey Rooney, who played Puck, and I was the other, who played Hermia.
And then Mickey Rooney was noted for being a cut-up and a fun person to work with.
Oh,
Did
he
you
was
find
a
him to be-
rascal. He
Was
was
he?
very lively and very appealing, actually, and a very hard worker, terribly serious. And it was so sweet because here I was only just 18 and he was about 10 or 11. And they said he was 9, but I don't think he was 9. I think it was a short 10 or 11. Anyway, he would get so tired at the rehearsals. They were 13 hours long. And he would come, we were rehearsing in the Chamber of Commerce. It was then Hollywood Boulevard. And he would come and say to me, he would crawl up and he would put his head in my lap and go to sleep. And he would say, call me 5 lines before my cue. So I would hold the book, and 5 lines before Mickey's cue, I would just waken him.
And he would be able to spring
and
back.
He would spring up and sleepy-eyed, spring forward, and be all together.
What a pleasure.
On the mark.
Mm-hmm. Now, from there was a series of films that you were able to work into, and some you enjoyed.
I wasn't able to work into them. I was cast in them.
That's true.
And I had to do them, whether I liked it or not.
Yes, that's what they said. You were under a contractual obligation, which was difficult at times for you.
Yes, because some of the parts I didn't enjoy at all. And well, when you begin in Shakespeare, after all, you want everything that follows to be Shakespeare too. And it wasn't.
And it wasn't. And then you came across someone called Errol Flynn, and you kept touching bases with him through several films.
Well, touching bases with him. Well, I'm not so sure we touched base. That we didn't.
Well, in your early years, it implied you didn't touch base with Errol Flynn.
No, I did not touch base with Errol.
But then as you people became, as you were cast more and more, you realized there was a change in Errol Flynn that wasn't beneficial to him because he was actually tiring of...
Oh, it was sad. You know, his life changed a lot, and he ran into rather poor luck, I think, in many ways. And one day, years after we had worked together, I came back to Hollywood for a ball, a costumer's ball, and I was supposed to present an award, and I think he was too. I didn't know that he was in the country, and I was standing at the reception that preceded the dinner, and he came up to me, a man came up to me and kissed me on the back of the neck. And I turned around, saw this tall stranger, and I said, "Do I know you?" Which I think all women say when a man kisses them on the back of the neck. And he said, "It's Errol." And I said, "Errol who?" He had changed so. It was the expression in his eyes that had changed. All that glint of mischief and merriness was gone. And there was this, I swear the color had changed even. They were somber.
Of the 2 films of which you've won an Academy Award, which do you find that you enjoyed most? Because you're noted for going out, getting into the character, looking at the person, going to an insane asylum, working, pulling yourself totally into it. Which one did you find most challenging?
Well, I thought The Snake Pit was tremendously challenging and exciting, but I thought The Heiress was too.
You enjoy both?
Oh, yes.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Olivia, and I greatly appreciate you taking time to come and spend with us.
Well, it was nice to visit with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Olivia, I just had one quick question. I'm from the Los Gatos Weekly. Los Gatos High
Yes.
plans to invite you next year to their commencement, which will be the 100th birthday of the high school. I don't know if you know this or have any plans.
Well, someone handed me an envelope this evening and said there was an invitation in it. Now, I haven't had a chance to look at that because I was bound up for the theater, you see. But I will look at it, and it may be to that, you see. Who knows?
Because that's where you did some performances too.
I did indeed, the junior and senior plays.
And you wrote for the newspaper.
I was the advertising manager.
Oh, were you?
Yes, I was. of the Elgato.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
And I designed the masthead.
And
Oh, you did?
I certainly did. I don't know that they still have those 2 cats that I designed, but I have issues
I bet they
that
will
bear
now.
that particular masthead.
That's
And
wonderful.
then also I
You were the
was the editor of the Wildcat.
Yes.
The edition that has the hammered gold paper as a cover. Previously, it was gray linoleum or brown linoleum.
You're marvelous.
Yes, or green linoleum, but mine was hammered gold.
Well, Scottish High remembers you well. You're the most famous graduate.
When you return, would you perhaps consider spending a few more moments talking about Olivia in Saratoga?
When I return next time,
Would you?
well, I would certainly consider it.
Because the homes are here. We've even spoken to people who have lived in homes once owned by your mother, etc. So there's a lot of heritage. And I'd like to be able to spend some more time with you next time you visit.
Well, that's very sweet of you. We'll touch base.
Thank you very much.